Hi. Before going to video, please subscribe to my channel for more interesting stuff.
Story from r/creepyencounters. Posted by u/crh427. He just had to see me. So this happened when I was about 14 or 15. It involves an in-person catfish meeting, so forgive me if it's misplaced. Like most kids back then, I was a pretty active MySpace user. Being a gay teen in 2006 meant there were few options to connect with other gay kids your own age, so I would frequently, and sometimes recklessly, turn to online platforms, MySpace in particular, to meet others. One guy I met on there seemed legit enough, lots of photos of what was definitely a teenage boy. Talked to him on the phone a lot for a month or so. He sounded like a kid, so I wasn't suspicious. I decided to invite him over to my house. Don't try this at home, kids, and my mom, bless her, insisted on coming out to the end of my very long driveway on my rural, empty road to greet him with me. I thought it was overkill, but okay, I said. Soon after we walk out, a beat-to-hell white sports car from the 80s cruises up alongside my driveway. The driver was around 60 years old, plump, with longish, scraggly hair dyed jet black with wide gray roots coming in and about 2 weeks of unkempt growth on his face. I just stared at the guy and felt like I was drifting outside of myself from the shock. My mom starts going off on the guy, asking him what the hell he was thinking, screaming he's 15. He rebuts a few times before saying I just had to see him in a bizarrely young sounding voice, and tore off. Going back down the driveway felt like a 2-mile walk, me saying nothing. Didn't know what to say. We called the police and gave them his number, but they said they couldn't do anything. For years after, we would often get a car driving by blaring its horn in front of the house at 2 to 3 a.m. almost every night, and I've always wondered if it was him. Story from r/creepyencounters. Posted by u/Ben69 Wild West. I hope I never get arrested. Re-upload. This is my first post, so sorry if it's bad. I'm in NHS and at my school we go and help out teachers at the local elementary schools. I was a junior, so it was my first year, and this particular elementary school was a bit weird. The teachers would yell at the kids for no reason sometimes, and it just felt bad. There weren't that many of us on this trip, so I was left in charge of a kindergarten class. During lunch it was my class, and the class a senior was in charge of, first grade. We were supposed to help the kids open up their milk and just simple stuff like that. This time though they had these two cops. Our city is known to be very corrupt, so we don't tend to trust the cops, yet these weren't from the city, they were from the county. It was a female and a male cop. At some point the female cop came up to us and asked us a few questions. The normal, what grade are you in? What do you want to be when you grow up? When I get anxious I tend to get nice, so I was really nice. They were apparently there to help build a stronger connection with the kids. To give them more trust in cops. When she walked away the other cop came up to her, and I guess she told him about us because he came up to us right away. That's where it started to get weird for me. I'm 5'3", average body size for a 17 years old. The girl next to me was a few inches taller than me and about twice my size, but this dude was almost 6 feet tall. He started telling us about a letter the county can write us if we do 100 volunteering hours. Every time I would lean back he would take a step closer to me, up to the point where our shoes were touching and I couldn't go back further without falling into the plants the school had put in, inside the cafeteria. He kept talking to me directly, barely glancing at the other girl. He told me that he could hook me up with some volunteering and that I could round up on my hours because they don't check them. He kept leaning closer and I felt like I was gonna throw up, but I just kept smiling and nodding until finally lunch was over. Before we left he gave me his business card, said I could email or call him if I had any questions, and then just walked away with this weird grin. We left to go back to our school a few minutes later and I was the first one on the bus. I went to my 11th period and just told my friends what happened, trying not to cry, but I think a few tears got out. That's when I finally really looked at the card. Apparently he's the deputy sheriff. Sorry for any errors I left, thinking about this still makes me shake. Story from r/creepyencounters. Posted by u/rabbit_lemur. A guy stalked me and my siblings. This happened in the summer of 2017. I was 16 at the time and my sister was 10. I usually take her on late night walks up and down the road near my house. It's an old brick road that stretches for about a half mile, I think, and goes directly towards my high school with a small playground/park area just before you reach it. On the night in question, I took my stepbrother with us to the park. It was about 9:30 at night and we brought flashlights. The plan was to show my stepbro the high school, but we decided to just hang out at the playground. Anyway, I was just sitting at the swings, watching my siblings play when a car pulls into the small parking lot. The headlights were off, so I thought the driver couldn't see us in the dark. I shot up and quietly ran to my siblings. I figured this was a bad situation since the car didn't move at all. I was whispering to them about how we should get home when the high beams turned on. We all froze in fear as the car sat there for a few more seconds before slowly pulling out of the driveway and going back the way it came. We took that as our cue to get the hell out of there. We didn't get more than 15 feet down the road when we heard the roar of an engine behind us. I grabbed my bro and sis and ran to the other side of the street and hid with them in the tree line. It was one of those streets with many woodlands on either side, even though it was a decent-sized city. The same car came barreling down the street with the high beams still on. My sister whimpered when the guy came to a stop about 100 feet away and turned around, vomiting back our way slowly this time. We headed deeper into the tree line and ducked down behind some bushes. At this time I had picked up a branch and was ready to fight should the guy find us. But that never happened. The guy just did a few more laps before he sped off into the night. We slowly made our way home, keeping as close to the trees as possible and hiding whenever any other car came by. It was pretty busy for a back road. When we made it inside our house, we all agreed not to tell our parents since we'd be grounded for sneaking out. They were at work and wanted my siblings to be inside at night with me as babysitter. I don't know what that guy would have done to us if he'd caught us, but I'm glad we made it out safely. We still did our night walks, but we never went back to that playground. Story from r/creepyencounters. Posted by u/mandisrule. Ex-boyfriends crept neighbors at his holiday apartment. So just a little insight about my ex, let's call him Jackass. At the time I was in a relationship with Jackass just going on a year. He was the controlling, abusive type. Was in serious denial with how he treated me at the time. He had this apartment his gran had left him in her will after she died. It was an apartment complex in a small town on the island of Majorca. It was originally built in the 80s and was a hotspot for nightlife right up until about 10 years ago. Since then it became a pretty rough area due to drugs. We went on holiday in May. It was a good time of year to go due to the cheap flights, good weather and not as touristy. Jackass had a neighbor on the right side of his apartment, bit of a weird character from what I'd seen of him. One thing you need to know is it was a 15-floor building. On each upper floor it had an open plan sort of hallway, narrow walkways from the stairs/elevator, leading only on the outside part of the hallway to the apartments. The rest was just open space for you to look over the wall to look down to the floor, if that makes any sense. Anyways, there was no railings, just a half-wall knee-height stopping you from falling over the edge to an unfortunate accident. Jackass's apartment was right at the end. There was only one walkway to his apartment and it ended at his door. The first 3 days of the holiday were okay, spent money I didn't have on stuff I didn't need, the usual stuff you do on holiday. The evening of the third day, however, we were due to go out for dinner so he could introduce me to some of his old friends that lived out in Spain. I wasn't feeling the best this evening and decided to stay at the apartment instead and get some rest. Jackass went on his way and went out to hit the clubs with his friends and I stayed behind as planned. It was about 2 a.m. when I was woken up with a loud banging noise. This wasn't a normal bang, it was a horrible clanging noise like the sounds of metal being battered. So I go to look through the peephole expecting it to be Jackass back home drunk wanting to be let in. No one's there. It then continued and would go on 6 to 7 times in a row and stop for a few minutes and then continue. I then decided to call the police to see if they could send someone by to check up on the neighbor as I was too freaked out to step outside the door in case it was a burglar. By this time it's around 2:30 a.m. and I'm in bed hidden in the quilts. I'd honestly never been so freaked out. The banging continued until one final smash. Unsure what it was, I just remained in bed. Next thing I know I'm hearing screams from the guy next door and what sounded like fighting. The neighbor had tried to fight off whoever was trying to get into his home but ended up falling over the railing in the process. The police turn up just after all this had went down and arrested the person trying to break in and the neighbor was taken to hospital after the fall. Fast forward to the morning, Jackass has been back and we go to speak to another one of the neighbors in the complex and it turns out our neighbor who had the break-in was up to his eyes in debt to drugs and was getting a visit from his dealer. Not sure if this qualifies as creepy encounter as I didn't encounter the person face to face. But man, it has to be one of the most bizarre, horrible things I've experienced. Story from r/creepyencounters. Posted by u/redhairedgirl22. Man peeking in our hotel window. When I was about 13, I went on a trip to Santa Cruz with my parents, sister, and best friend. We stayed at a random hotel with my parents in one room, me, my sister and best friend in another room. My sister was college age and was texting this guy we knew and was having us take pictures of her to send to him. Nothing inappropriate, haha. and keeping us updated on what he was saying. We're all just hanging out, chilling. My best friend says she left something in the car and wants to go get it. By that time the sun was setting, so it was fine for her to go by herself. When she came back she said some creepy guy was just standing upstairs on the ledge watching her the whole way. We all agreed that was creepy, and brushed it off but made sure to lock the door. I decided I would get in the shower, and after I heard my sister trying to talk to me, so I opened the door in just my towel, barely covering because we're sisters and don't care, and as my sister's telling me about her conversation with that boy I look up and make direct eye contact with the creepiest dude I've ever seen in the gap between the curtains. He was overweight, bald, with a super thick mustache and had the creepiest pervert smile I've ever seen. He was looking directly at me and I yelled, "There's a man at the window." My sister jumped up and shut the curtains and checked that the door was bolted. We called the hotel front desk, and they sent the security guard up and he chased him off. But later on in the night we heard some girls screaming, so I think he came back to peep in other girls' windows. I always wonder how long he was looking in the window without my sister or best friend noticing before I saw him. Story from r/creepyencounters. Posted by u/Aries1255. Guy hiding in the woods at the park. Okay, so I will try to make this as short as possible. Let's start out with a little backstory. I, 22F, have been doing a lot of walking at parks lately due to the quarantine. There's one by my house about 5 minutes away, and it's closed. By that I mean they closed the gate at the entrance and it has a closed sign on it. It's a pretty small park, so not many people know about it, let alone go there when it's open, so one day I decided to park my car at the gate and walk around to go exercise. I like to smoke, listen to music, and walk. Since I was being socially distant, because no one else was there, I figured no harm no foul. This park has an easy layout, so hopefully I won't lose you in translation. The park is very small, shaped like a rectangle. The bottom left corner of the rectangle is the entrance. You drive across the edge of the rectangle to get to the parking lot, which is on the bottom right corner. There is a creek in between this parking lot/entrance road and the park itself. So, there is a bridge that crosses this creek next to the parking lot, bottom right corner. At the top right corner of the rectangle is an old abandoned campsite. Very small, pretty much an open field at this point with some broken down picnic tables and grills. There is a walking trail that wraps around the perimeter of this park, around 0.33 miles for one lap, and in the center of the rectangle is a big open space filled with huge oak trees and some picnic tables here and there. Outside of the trail is just heavy woods, no extra trails, no extra tables, just woods. I have explored this park several times before and it only consists of this rectangle and the woods. The gate was closed right at the entrance, but I was able to pull my car in and park right in front of it, bottom left corner. I got out and saw a tree that had conveniently fallen down over the creek right next to where my car was parked. I was going to originally walk over this tree to access the trail. When I approached it, I realized the drop was pretty far, about 15 to 20 feet before hitting the creek, so I decided to go across the bridge instead. This is important for later, so I walked down to the parking lot, across the bridge, and sat down at a nearby table to roll a blunt. I had forgotten my headphones, so I just turned on my music as high as it could go since I was alone. I rolled up and started walking. I walked from the bottom right corner in a counterclockwise direction. I took 2 or 3 laps just enjoying myself and the surrounding nature. Music playing loud, blunt in hand, I was singing and having a great time, because I thought I was alone. Now, I am usually a very vigilant person. Being a female, you kind of have to be vigilant to avoid all the creepers out there. I think this is what saved me from a terrible situation. After my 3rd lap, I was near the top left corner of the park when I noticed a man. Because of all the trees, I couldn't see his face, but I was able to see his body. He was a white man, short, maybe 5'8", 5'10", and he was wearing navy blue basketball shorts and a navy blue t-shirt. He was walking from the top right corner where the campsite is down towards the parking lot when I first noticed him, so we had the entire park in between us. We were first walking parallel to each other. I thought maybe it's a couple of people and they went hiking, so I didn't freak out just yet. I picked up the pace a little but kept walking. However, at this point I decided to head straight towards that fallen tree. I thought maybe they would head across the bridge to their cars when I remembered that the park is closed and my car was the only one in sight. Now, I have seen too many stories on Reddit, so I became nervous when I noticed this man was alone. I just got a bad feeling in my gut when I realized it. The second time I saw him, I noticed that he went from walking parallel to me to walking straight towards me across the park. At this point, I was approaching the tree, ready to cross it and risk falling to get to my car quickly. I got up on the tree, looking down, adrenaline pumping, when I looked back one last time. This man was full on sprinting towards me. I quickly ran across the tree, and thankfully didn't fall or drop my phone/keys, got into my car, locked the doors, and got the hell out of there as quickly as I could. I didn't see the man after I had gotten into my car, nor did I want to. When I was driving away and calming down, I started thinking. I first noticed him walking from the campground towards the bridge. I had taken 2 or 3 laps past that campground and saw nothing. No person or evidence of any bags or belongings. So, he must have been beyond that, right? But there is nothing but heavy woods beyond that campground. Which means this man was somewhere in the woods for some period of time alone while I was walking my laps past it. My music was as loud as it could be, so I know he heard it at some point. Also, why was he alone? I mean, I was alone, but I was just trying to exercise a little. Finally, why didn't he come out on my first lap? My assumption is that he was doing something and heard me. I figured he must have watched me take a lap or 2 before emerging. Maybe he planned to meet me at the bridge or make it to where I had to walk past him to get to the bridge and get away. I guess he didn't know about the tree on the other end, so when he saw me going to it he started running towards me. I don't know what his intentions were, but I was glad that I was vigilant, and I ended up being very thankful for that fallen tree. Because of it, I didn't have to use my pepper spray on some stranger at the park.
Thanks for watching. Please do like, share, comment and subscribe for more videos.